Hey everybody, how's it going? Special episode celebrating a special album created by some special guys for some special music fans. Steve and Dan here. What is up, Steve?
Hi, yeah, and like you were alluding to, we're celebrating the 55th anniversary of the Yes album, the
Yeah.
third album released by Yes. The first one with Steve Howe as the guitarist after they switched from Peter Banks over some disagreements, and the last one of that original three album run with Tony Kaye as the keyboardist before he eventually came back. So this has a lot of stuff going on. It was definitely a transitional period.
Yeah, a floating head, a foot in a cast, all kinds of stuff, an empty chair. What's up
Yeah.
with the empty chair? I never figured that out.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there. Like, someone could just sit in there if they wanted to, but I guess,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's an artistic thing.
And what's with the floating
And
head?
yeah, then I guess yeah, I don't know what the story behind the mannequin head is. It does kind of feel like they're trying to make it a thing, especially including it in those Beat Club videos where they performed "I've Seen All Good People" and "Yours Is No
Yeah.
Disgrace."
Maybe it's
Yeah.
like the monolith on the Presence album by Led Zeppelin, where it just appears everywhere, but there's no explanation for it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they would have continued that had they not gotten Roger Dean after this.
That'd have been funny. 55 years later, there's still
Yeah.
this old mannequin head rolling around. No pun intended. And why is there film strip when it's music?
Yeah, that's a weird thing too, because so I think when I was younger, I used to think it was called the Yes album because it's like a photo album, and this kind of reminds me of like
Ah, interesting.
film photo
So
stuff.
what
But
we always talk about the packaging first. What's missing from this? Do you notice something that's absent completely?
I guess they omitted the band name because it's in the album title itself. Is that what you're alluding to?
Sort of, but there's no logo whatsoever.
Oh yeah, it's just typed out like that. Yeah, it was like that on Time into Word as well, where it was just in that like
Yeah.
plain looking font. Yeah.
I guess back then they didn't really know what to do with album covers. But this is a case where like yes, of all bands, and I'd also say Pink Floyd and a few other bands thanks to um, Thor and Hypnosis, that you kind of get a sense of in your imagination what the music might be inside, if you judge it by the cover a little bit. And sometimes it totally matches, sometimes it kind of matches. This is like, wow, what is in here? It's like, so we've come to associate the cover with that music, but it's in no way related, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I kind of feel like the cover looks weird and kind of alien. So to me, like, it reflects the music a little bit, and that it might feel weirder than what people
Okay,
are used to listening to.
that's
But
fair.
that
The
might just
green
be me.
lighting. Yeah, their flesh looks green. So okay, that's cool. All right.
Yeah.
So there's the cover, folks. Chime in with comments, questions. We're gonna go through the whole album, and we have a lot of fan comments from when we posted that we were going to be doing this. We'll go through a bunch of those. Steve and I will probably give you our take on the album. Hey, did you get new throw cushions on that
Yeah.
couch?
So, well, uh, sure, yeah. Uh, exactly the same as they looked before.
Oh, okay. I thought they were new. Where do you want to start?
Right. Begin with context, like what was going on with music and prog at the time. So
Yeah.
first, Howe had joined the band, and one of their gigs that they recorded "Clap" off of was at the July 17th, 1970 gig at the Lyceum Theater. And then they recorded the rest of this album in the studio in autumn over in Devon, I believe it was. This was released February 19th, 1971 in the UK and March 19th in the US. Pink Floyd had released Atom Heart.
You froze up a little bit. Atom Heart Mother came out in October of 1970, so not that far off from there, as was Genesis released Trespass, their first album with Phil Collins, not sure whatever happened to that guy, in October of 1970. Gentle Giant, a lot of prog going on here. Gentle Giant released their debut album in November of 1970 and were recording their follow-up, Acquiring the Taste, at the same time that this Yes album came out. And Curved Air released their debut album, Air Conditioning. I love that title for them. In November of 1970, King Crimson had released Lizard featuring John Anderson in December of 1970. Uriah Heep released Salisbury, released in January of 1971. Soft Machine, just nothing but prog here, which is amazing. Soft Machine released Fourth in February of 1971, and ELP had that is, had released their debut album in November of 1970 and were recording Tarkus. What an amazing album. And Jethro Tull recorded Aqualung, released in March of 1971. But can you imagine? And I know it's all I'll switch places here. I know that it's all subjective, Steve, but can you imagine that many legendary, what would become legendary albums coming out in a row? Bam, bam, bam. Pink Floyd, yes, King Crimson, Curved Air. It just goes on in such a short span. And that's how it was, like the late 60s through 75, I guess, you know?
Yeah, and funny enough, we mentioned Uriah Heep in this segment. I was reading up on this. That July gig where that clap recording is from, I think is when Uriah Heep and Black Sabbath were like both sharing the bill with Yes. So it's like Yes and a couple metal bands.
Wow, can you imagine Yes and Black Sabbath? That's like Genesis and Iron Maiden. I mean, it's like, what?
Yeah.
I've seen some wacky bills. I saw Rush with 3 Southern rock bands opening for them. 3. It was 38 Special and Molly Hatchet and one other one, which was like, what the? Crazy. Anyhow.
Right. So the tracks on this album, on side A, we have Yours Is No Disgrace, Clap, and Starship Trooper. And on side B, we have I've Seen All Good People, Adventure, and Perpetual Change. So, Dad, your introduction to these, or most of these tracks, was pretty much through Yes songs, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I got Yes songs and Close to the Edge on the same day, and I fell down the rabbit hole with that amazing live 3-disc album and amazing cover, art and everything. Yes songs and the movie, and I listened to Close to the Edge maybe a month after already wearing the grooves out on Yes songs, and this was 1975 or 6, so I was like 13, I think. And when I put on Close to the Edge, it was like, what? This isn't how it goes. Because I was so used to the live version with Alan White and everything. Same with Then You and I, which wasn't that different. I mean, it was. But yeah, all those songs, Perpetual Change, which had Bruford on it, on Yes songs. Yours Is No Disgrace. And then I did not hear these studio versions until other than my favorite,
probably when I got the CD in the 2000s, right?
possibly other than my favorite, All Good People in Your Move, because I heard those on the radio. I don't think I heard any of the others on the radio ever. And by the time I did hear them, and people are gonna think I'm an idiot, and I don't care. They just had such a old sound to them, like the old Beatles records. They were sort of the recording quality was sort of in that vein. They just sounded so 60s, late 60s. And I know it was 1971, and I kind of was already so used to bigger sounds and different production that it took a while for the studio versions to really grow on me. It really did.
Yeah, for me, like you, some of the live versions I got into first. I mentioned the Beat Club stuff and the Yes Songs excerpts that were in the Yes Years documentary.
Yep.
I'd probably heard, Starship Trooper was on 9012 Live, but I was very young, so I didn't retain that memory of Starship Trooper until, like, further listens. So
You were like
when I was
4, I
yeah,
think.
so when I was in elementary school and I got the extended versions CD, which basically had some of the Keys to Ascension live tracks, that had Starship Trooper on it. So that live version was like what I most associated with Starship Trooper. And
Right.
then uh, when I got the compilation album highlights, the very best of Yes, suddenly I was able to hear the studio version of that, and I'm like, wow, a few of the words are different, and it fades out. This feels really weird. And I've seen All Good People was on that too, and the way that fades out as well when we're so used to the jamming at the end, and there's an actual ending.
Yeah.
Like it felt so strange, and eventually I got the remastered CD as I was collecting those Rhino remasters in the 2000s. My copy has Tony Kaye's initials from when we saw them perform back in Anaheim 2018.
Oh yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Chime in,
So,
folks. Let us know what you think of the album as we go through you know, the meat of everything, and we'll give our takes. As I mentioned, tons of fan comments too. A lot of good stuff there.
right. So for the tracks as they are on the album, is there a standout for you, Dad?
Yeah. Strangely enough, there's something about the song. I don't know if there's a live recording of it. The shortest song on there, I believe, Adventure. I forgot about that song, and I love that song. It's the one song like, oh, I wanted more of that. And you know what it is about it that I think sort of ignited the fondness for it. I don't know if this is a good description. There's something about it that sounds Tolkien-esque. Like I pictured
Oh, yeah.
the yeah, the very original animated version of The Hobbit. I could totally see this song with it. And I haven't read the
Yeah.
lyrics. I haven't
Or
looked into
the Rankin Bass one from the 70s, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I totally heard this song going with that, and it definitely leaves you wanting more. As opposed to like yours is no disgrace. It's over 8 minutes. Like, seriously, who's gonna listen to a song over 8 minutes? And oh, let me guess, when they do it live, they stretch it out and make it even longer with some guitar whizzy doodle or something, right?
Yeah.
But
So,
that song stands out for me because I see it as an outlier because it's not in the canon really of what they've performed live over the years and all of that. It's like, oh, what's this? I forgot about this. You know what I mean?
yeah. So, Adventure, as far as live performances, they had rehearsed it ahead of the Keys to Ascension shows,
Really?
along with South Side of the Sky. But then, I guess they weren't ready to take it on then. I think they were maybe considering it in 2008, but it wasn't until 2013 that they finally played it live when they started doing the album series, and the Yes album was one of the
Oh,
albums that they start with there.
that makes sense. I'd love to seek that out as the seeker, and I'd love to hear that because I really dig the song. Do you know what I mean by Tolkien-esque? Does it? Do you kind of hear
Yeah,
that in the song?
yeah, like you can totally imagine the characters like going on an adventure, out leaving
Yeah,
the Shire, stuff like that.
it's like a traveling sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. So they played it like 13, 14, and then I think once in Japan in 2019. So yeah, it is really an outlier. And there is on a couple of the re-releases, like the 2014 re-release and the more recent like super deluxe edition from a couple years ago, there is a version where it includes the extended outro without like fading out, and it's
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
boy, I feel so out of the loop.
Yeah, but Adventure, like to me, also feels like an outlier in that maybe it's because I'd heard the other tracks as live versions. You know, Perpetual Change I'd heard on House of Yes before I heard the studio
I
version.
love that version, by the way.
Yeah, that's an excellent version. And Yours
Yeah,
Is No Disgrace on that
yeah,
show too.
absolutely. Both of
Amazing.
those. Yeah.
Uh, so so when I first listened to Adventure, and I still kind of think this, I can kind of imagine it being on the first two Yes albums. And I know that's partially colored by the fact that most of the Yes album has been played live time and time again. But do you think there might be another reason why I might see it that way? Like, I don't know if maybe there are some lyrical commonalities with the first two albums or what.
That's interesting. It might be a lyrical tie. That might be kind of a common thread. What's the big standout for you?
Yeah, for me, I think the my favorite track on this album is probably it's really tough because like I said, like some of the live versions have really eclipsed a couple of these for
Yeah,
me.
it's
But
almost hard to sort of look at these in a silo on their own, you know, because we're
yeah,
so used to so many other versions.
yeah, I think as far as the versions on the album, it might be between Yours Is No Disgrace and Perpetual Change. Like those are really killer tracks. They were smart to bookend the album with those tracks. And I also realized that on the Yes album, there might be more fade out endings than on the first two albums.
Oh,
Like I went,
interesting.
yeah, because looking back, I think there are maybe one or two per album from those first two, whereas here it's like you have the fade out endings on Starship Trooper, I've Seen All Good People, and Perpetual Change.
Yeah.
And I think that, as well as the fact that we've listened to these songs so many times in concert, might contribute to why I'm more likely to reach for either of the first two albums and maybe even rank this a little bit below those first two, which might be crazy to
Really?
say because lots of people say this was a step forward for the band,
Yeah.
and it definitely saved the band. Like I was reading up on this in Chris Welsh's book Close to the Edge, the Yes Story, how before this they switched managers, you know, from Roy Flynn to Brian Lane, and that was a whole roller coaster. And then Atlantic pretty much dropped Yes, and so Phil Carson had to convince Amit Erdogan to like give them another shot, and they put out this album, and that gave more confidence to okay, we'll keep Yes and keep going with
Right. Good move.
yeah.
That's interesting how you rank that. And it is crazy. You're right. You're crazy, but that's okay. It's interesting. We'd love to hear other people's perspectives too. That's interesting. And I'm still all these years forward, I'm still relatively so unfamiliar with the first two albums. Like very unfamiliar. Even though I've heard them, we've talked about them, but everything from Fragile forward, I'm like deep in the weeds. The first three albums, including this one, like even though it has Perpetual Change and um, Yours Is No Disgrace and everything, and Starship Trooper, just three legendary. Look how those have survived through their set lists over so many decades. I still, I'm like, oh yeah, that's on here. I just don't. Is that something I put on? I don't know what to say. Maybe that's
Yeah.
crazier than you ranking this below the first two. I don't know.
Yeah, and Gilly tuning in the chat says Steve Howe was the step up. Period. Yeah, like Peter Banks was a great guitarist, and I know there's been like that back and forth regarding Howe and Banks, but Howe has complimented Banks' style and said that he
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much picked up where Banks left off. I'm really grateful that we were able to have Peter Banks in the band. You know, um, and Steve Howe, he's on a bunch of the Yes classics, so that
yeah,
definitely added another flavor. And like before this, he was offered to be with the Nice, but he tried them out for a day and wasn't really feeling it. But he thought that him and Keith Emerson playing together was kind of a neat idea, which I guess is why he tried phoning Keith before Relayer years later.
yeah.
Um,
That's interesting. Imagine, wow.
yeah, and there was that offer from Jethro Tull, and funny enough, on the U.S. tour, their first U.S. tour, Yes toured with Jethro Tull after this, and also after touring with Iron Butterfly in the UK. So, yeah, they were going places now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Steve brought a whole other sort of orchestra, if you will, of other guitar and related stringed instruments. He wasn't just one or two things, and neither was Peter. Neither was Peter. But Steve brought not only the jazz element, but like the Wes Montgomery influence that he always cites, and a lot of sort of like, for lack of better words, Renaissancey sort of not just styles but instruments, and the classical, the acoustic, and just on and on and on. When you look at his collection of guitars and the different instruments he plays, and like the Valkyria in Wondrous Stories that he also uses in All Good People, and all these weird instruments. And then let's not forget the slide steel guitar that he's such a master at. Him and David Gilmour, no one can match either of them. And they're both very different with those instruments. So Steve brought a whole other sort of lexicon of musical abilities, I think, that after with Fragile, enter Rick Wakeman, he had those same qualities as a piano player and a keyboardist, and that created what became, I think, the most classic lineup and most revered lineup, if you will. And not to take away from the Yes album or that lineup either.
Right. Yeah. When Rick Wakeman came in, he would do certain things his own way, which are pretty iconic. But I still really love the way that Tony Kaye plays the keys on like Yours Is No Disgrace.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that whole atmosphere of it. It has something different and special to
yeah,
it.
and
I
Perpetual Church, absolutely.
Yeah. I see Ubino tuning in saying took it home and popped it in and my Yes journey started. So yeah, the Yes album was very much a gateway for a lot of people. And I suspect that's probably why the Yes album was called the Yes album. I was trying to research like why did they call it that? I couldn't find a straight answer, but my own speculation is that I think Atlantic and perhaps the band as well branded it as such because it was basically a soft reboot. If people go in the record store, oh, what's this? The Yes album? Oh, I guess it's the first one. So we'll get that. And this will give consumers more confidence, perhaps, since they weren't sure about the first two.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Well,
the DC movies where uh, they did Suicide Squad, and then a few years later, James Gunn put out the Suicide Squad. Even though it's the same timeline, it was basically a soft reboot,
right.
that type of
Well,
thing.
I was gonna say. Oh, and Rubino says it was the Yes album. Yeah, and I'm wondering when was that you took it home and popped it in, Rubino? And what I was gonna say is, for all we know, the intention is that it's pronounced the Yes album.
Yeah, that's something I thought about too. I'm just so used to just saying the for it.
Yeah,
So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, regarding Steve Howe, again, he would play Wubino says 1976. Okay,
yeah,
so Sounds
Cool.
like Wubino's journey started around the time
Early.
you started yours, just with a different album.
Yeah,
Uh,
just I started a little earlier with Fragile, but yeah, not far removed from when this album came out. Only a
yeah,
few years. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember when I got this remastered CD. I probably got it at Walgreens, and this one only had
Really?
yeah, and this one only had 3 bonus tracks: the single versions of Your Move and Starship Trooper Life Seeker, and the studio recording of Clap, which weirdly had a little bit of Mood for a Day before Steve Howe fully developed Mood for a Day. So it kind of makes you wonder if he had included, edited the studio track and put that on this. Mood for a Day on Fragile might have been missing a little snippet that he'd already used, for all
Yeah.
we know.
That's interesting. And Killy says on this topic of titles, Drama was going to be called the new Yes album. Wow, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that sounds familiar, and the format is pretty similar because 6 tracks. The second track is pretty short. Clap and White Car. So
Right.
yeah, I could definitely see the parallels there.
That's another song that I love.
Oh, yeah, I'm going for the one. Um, yeah, and there's also some interesting stuff on these re-releases. On the Super Deluxe edition, there's like instrumental mixes, which funny enough for I've Seen All Good People, they still leave in the opening vocal of them singing I've seen all good people, that
Yeah, the
because
acapella.
because if they cut out that acapella bit, then it would just be like 10 seconds of silence or something. Um,
And then that's
yeah,
funny.
and they're also like an alternate mix of Yours Is No Disgrace, which made me appreciate the Bill's drumming even more. There's an alternate take of Starship Trooper where it's basically the Life
Oh,
Seeker section, but without the lyrics. I guess they haven't figured out the lyrics yet.
oh, really?
And
Interesting.
yeah, and an early take of Your Move, I've Seen All Good People. You can hear John saying stuff like, let's try that again. You get these. I really like that stuff where you get to hear the band members, talk as they're like working through these things.
Totally, yeah.
Um, and I was able to listen to the live stuff that was on the Super Deluxe edition because it's on the Yes official YouTube. So you've got a couple live tracks from Gothenburg where they even did a couple Time and a Word tracks, Astral Traveler and Every Days. The mix kind of varies. Like I feel on a couple of these, the instrumentation is like way in the background, but I think
Right.
it gets better as the tracks progress. And Perpetual Change, they had already been playing like a 15-minute version of that on this tour. You got the Yale Bowl stuff. Steve included a bit of classical gas and clap. So
Right. And
yeah, it's a
on Yes
really neat
Songs,
period.
uh, yeah, I'm sorry, on Yes Songs, that was Bill Bruford's solo song too. I wonder if they always did it like that when they played it live with him, in
Yeah,
previous years.
because on Yes Songs they pulled it from the Fragile tour, but on the Yes album tour, his drum solo is a bit different in that it really is a drum solo spot. Whereas on Yes Songs, if I remember correctly, it feels more like it's part of the song.
Yeah, it works. It totally works. And it's the first time I ever heard a solo by Bill Bruford. Um, and there's some really neat stuff in there too. I mean, he's just so different from any other drummer. There's still no one that sounds like, oh, that sounds like Bill Bruford. No, there's nobody that sounds like Bill Bruford. Bill Bruford rarely sounds like Bill Bruford. He sounds so different.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, a couple other questions. I guess we'll go into fan stuff. So this album in some ways is an end of an era and in some ways is a beginning of an era. But
Right.
from your perspective, do you feel it leans more one way or the other? Like, does it feel like more the end of an era or more the beginning of an era?
I No disrespect to Peter, but I do think it's going to be more remembered as the beginning of an era. And had Steve Howe only been in the band for a couple albums, maybe that would be different. But he's been with the band on and off for 55 years. I mean, how much was he really absent for 3 albums? Just the 90125 era, the
Right.
Trevor era. So I see it more as the beginning of a new era. And you get, and another reason why is you have those one, two, like 3 or 4 anchor songs that, like I said, became canon with their live performances with Your Move All Good People, Starship Trooper, Perpetual Change. Yeah, 4, Yours Is No Disgrace. Like first album that he's on, and 55 years later, they're still playing at least one of those songs.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
Who else can claim that,
Right. So prior to today, I would kind of look at this album as the end of an era because,
Okay.
Tony definitely helps with that connective tissue. And this was also pre Roger Dean. But the more I reread
True.
about the background of this, how they had not only parted ways with Peter, but also changed management and gotten dropped by Atlantic and gotten on with them again, the more I was seeing, maybe this does lean more toward the beginning of an era. Like, it's definitely both. It's a transitional album, but I think I'm coming around and saying, yeah, it's more the beginning of an era than an end. Um, and in the comments, I see Lisa Morgan tuning in from Texas and Rubino chiming in again saying, are you seeing John with the Band Geeks this spring? Seeing them in Red Bank, New Jersey in April. Oh, cool. Um, yeah, they're only on the East Coast this spring. So,
Yeah, and we're in the West Coast. Steve is like in the Los Angeles area, and I'm east of Phoenix, Arizona, up in the mountains. So hopefully they'll get their act together and come out. Yeah. We'll have to reach out
right.
to Richie or John or anybody, and see what's going on.
Right. Well, what's cool though is they recently announced that they're finally gonna tour the UK in September. Yeah, they have several dates in September and one October 1st, and
Wow.
then in October they have a Stockholm show and a yeah, I think this might be another place in
I
Sweden.
bet they'll be so well
Malmo, I think it's
received.
pronounced.
Yeah, I bet they'll be
Yeah.
so well received. I think it's been quite a while since John's been out there.
Yeah, like I don't think he was there for the let's see, was his 1000 Hands tour that might have been just US if I remember correctly, but he definitely hasn't toured with the Band Geeks in UK and Europe. Like they've been
Right.
starving for them, so it's like I really hope that enough people go so that it justifies them going back again in the future, however long they keep doing this.
Absolutely. And I want another album already. Orlando
Yeah,
Hernandez
it's
tuning in from Houston, Texas area. Thanks, Orlando. Yeah, I'm ready for another album. My true album, the disc is so worn out. It's like I have a 5 CD player in my truck, and I think it's the only CD I've listened to in the last since that came out. Seriously. Like seriously.
yeah, their next album is expected for later this year.
Cool.
I'm not sure when exactly. My guess would be probably August, like they did last time, but I guess we'll end up seeing. And as for the new Yes album, John Davison said that that's probably gonna be in July. So we'll have a couple new albums to review and whatnot. Should be interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I'm quite
But
curious about the new Yes album, in fact.
yeah. So another question about the Yes album, this one from 1971, is what is the legacy of this album?
Well, I think, and I'd love to know your perspective, but I think, like what I said before, the fact that it has those 4 anchor songs that have survived through the decades in their live shows, Perpetual Change, Yours Is No Disgrace, Starship Trooper, and Your Move All Good People, really speaks for itself. I don't think that there's another album that they've ever put out where that many songs have survived. We can't say that long because it's older than the rest of that came after, but you know what I mean, that have been such staples. Roundabout, that's it. That's the only other song maybe that you could put in that category that was a song. One of those songs I just mentioned, at least one was played on every tour after that. Roundabout is the only song besides those that was played at almost every tour after that. I think, and I think that cements it right there. You know what? My dogs are going crazy right now. I might need to see if someone's climbing over the wall.
All right, yeah, go check on them, and I'll show the viewers a few photos that one of our fans sent in of their copy of
Cool.
the Yes album.
Cool. I'll be back.
Right. I see Lisa Morgan saying "Eek 1971 high school time." But yeah, one of our people who chimed in as we shared the post around, Arturo Orozco Alvarez, sent in photos of his 2014 re-release of the Yes album. This is like a CD Blu-ray combo thing. So I'll go ahead and show the pictures of those real quick. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and share my screen, make sure I got the right window. Okay, I think this is the right window. Okay. It should be popping up now. Okay, there it is. So looks like Arturo has a nice collection there of Yes and related stuff, but there's the sleeve and the 2 discs, a CD and Blu-ray. There it is in the packaging, and really cool layout there. You got that, and there's a Blu-ray disc again, and I guess I gotta rotate this. Also some booklet shots, which I guess I can keep showing while we go through the fan comments now that Dan is back. So should we before we go into fan comments, Dad, you mentioned to me earlier that something about the Yes choir on this album.
Yes. Yeah. That's the other reason why I think it's going to be remembered as a step for, or as a new beginning, because I think this album really is the birth of the Yes choir, which carried on even after Steve left and through the Trevor Rabin years, and that became as much a staple of their sound as Rick Wakeman's Moog, as much as Tony's Hammond organ, as much as Steve Howe's ES 175 hollow body electric guitar, as much as his slide guitar, as much as John's voice. That Yes choir became an ethos as part of their sound. And this is the first album to really have that in that kind of way, I think. And Your Move, All Good People really showcases that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I almost forgot.
Yeah. Like after you told me that, I was thinking about the first 2 albums, and I think on half of the tracks on each of those, there are definitely choir moments, but I think the Yes album is where it feels more prominent. You know?
For sure. Absolutely.
All right. So
cool. Let's go to fan comments.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start with Tony Jefferson. Tony, I hope you're watching. He says, I'm actually doing Yours Is No Disgrace and Starship Trooper as part of a Yes tribute group for a gig in April. Tony, we've been like online dating since before I started Drum Talk TV 13 years ago. Send me a freaking video already. Jeez, come on. Let's get a drum cam video of you playing those. We'd love to feature you, bro.
And Brian Barton replied to that saying, I'd love to see that. We do those songs for Yes tribute in Texas. And yeah, that's close to the Yes, the Texas Yes tribute band. Brian.
God, I wish I was in a Yes tribute band. I've man, so jelly about that. Jeez. Andrew Boyle says, my brother bought it in 1971, ? All Good People was on FM. Little may have had the first tour, U.S. tour, but nobody really knew much about them in Midland, Michigan. It was Beatles, Grand Funk, Stones, Woodstock, music, a lot of protest at Dow Chemical to end Vietnam that year, I remember. Interesting context. Thank you for that history lesson.
Yeah, definitely Yours Is No Disgrace being a protest song. So yeah, there's that. Michael John Briggs said, superb album. Yours Is No Disgrace, Starship Trooper, and Perpetual Change are game changers. Yeah, they
There you
certainly
go.
are.
Beginning of an era, Steven Schinder.
Yeah, and then Jose Ortega said, Descaso de Yes, which means great album by Yes.
Yeah. Mike Watson says ace.
Yeah, that's
Joe
another way of
Scorza.
saying great from what I
Yep.
understand. Yeah.
Absolutely. Joe Scorza says the album that started what became a sea change in progressive rock music, CSEA, that is, in my opinion. It opened the door for the next two albums that expanded the progressive rock genre forever. It was creative and accessible at the same time. Interesting comment, because when you look at those next two albums and his comment about expanding progressive rock genre forever, not just Fragile, but of course Close to the Edge is looked at as the pinnacle, the penuptial progressive rock song and album. Arguably, a lot of people think King Crimson and uh, uh, there's a couple others, but it's undeniable that the album Close to the Edge set a standard that I don't know if has been met, and that's subjective. That's my own personal opinion, but that's a great take, Joe.
Yeah, and Wabino chimes in again saying, Going for the One had Parallels, Wondrous Stories, and Awaken, which are still staples in concert. Yeah, some of those, I feel like sometimes they take a few years break between some of them, especially Parallels. And you also got that going on with Close to the Edge, of course. So you got staples on some of those classic albums for sure that was still played.
Good point.
Sav McKelvey says, a perfect album to start if you're curious about progressive rock, cosmic yet accessible. Yeah, it's kind of funny how even though there's definitely complex stuff on the Yes album, it feels more accessible compared to some of the stuff that came later, like Close to the Edge, and definitely Tales from Topographic Oceans.
And
yeah,
Relayer,
like I've been, yeah, like everyone who's like been keeping up with this show knows that I've been going through like the different versions of Tales from Topographic Oceans, and it's, while it is my favorite Yes album, I kind of need a break from it, so I have to like listen to stuff in between. So getting to revisit the Yes album for this was very refreshing in a way. You know, it was like, okay, let's dial it back. Let's not get too crazy, fellas. I just need to relax a bit more.
Some normalcy.
Yeah.
Jeff Sadowski says the first of what I consider Yes's trifecta: the Yes album, Fragile, and Close to the Edge. Kind of mirrors what Joe was saying. That's interesting. Included in those three, I would add Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water. What's that? Yeah. Just kidding. It was in that time span. That's interesting.
Yeah, and Jeff also continues saying, all great recordings. Kaye was great on the Yes album. Wakeman showed his extraordinary skill on keyboards on the following. Fish Out of Water was a home run for Chris with Bruford on board, my preferred Yes percussionist. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like the Yes album, I feel like it doesn't get as much praise compared to Close to the Edge, even though like everyone knows it's the album that saved Yes. I kind of feel like people are sort of like, yeah, we know that it saved Yes, but Close to the Edge, Fragile, you know? So
yeah.
I feel like it kind of gets overlooked in a way, even though there's a general agreement among fans that it helped move Yes forward, you know?
So here's an interesting point. Do you think, and in a way that kind of makes it an outlier, right?
Yeah.
So would it be less of an outlier if it had Roger Dean artwork? Would it feel more grouped in? Would it feel more of the same library? Because that artwork just became so synonymous with them.
Yeah, I think maybe it would have. And with the space travel and Starship Trooper, maybe the glider would have been on there somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because the artwork, I mean, I kind of wonder if the sales would have been even better if it had the Roger Dean artwork, because that really draws the eye. It gets me more curious about whatever I'm going to listen to.
If I owned the Yes catalog or just had the authority, I'd say take every Yes album that doesn't have Roger Dean artwork and get that bullshit out of here and get Roger on it now. That's what I would choose because it's just so he's like the sixth, seventh member or whatever.
Right.
That's just my personal take. Nothing against the artwork. Well, yeah, something against some of it. Nothing against Bob Seska's artwork for Magnification, who we had on recently. Not at all. I mean, to me, that fits perfectly. But for going for the one and Tormato, it's like, what were they thinking? That's a whole other show. Anyhow, I digress. Let's go back to Joe Shelton says it might be the GOAT Yes album in that it doesn't have Rick Wakeman and that it keeps the focus on the others, which is unique in the album chain. Nothing wrong with Wakeman, but Tony Kaye was perfect on the Yes album. And remember, this album broke the band commercially, even though the charts were fixed. He puts a laughing face. Greatness always rises. Starship Trooper and Yours Is No Disgrace are still all-time live standouts, lean, mean, and chasing the improvisations perfectly. I like that take.
Yeah, love those improvisations. And then Ian Richards said, it's a great album, a bit brash, and I can see Rick's influence in Fragile calming things down. Yours Is No Disgrace is one of my favorite Yes songs. Yeah, it's interesting how there are those different perspectives as to like whether it's calm after or whether it kind of goes, it feels like a bit more in a way after. It's kind of interesting how different the perceptions are.
Yeah, there is some calming in Fragile, while it also goes way more off to left field. But if you look at the soft edges of Heart of the Sunrise, it kind of mirrors the structure of Perpetual Change in a way.
Mm. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Cool. Stephen Murray says intro album for a newbie. Stephen, if you're watching, I'm curious when that was.
Yeah, and then Randy Branch says it is the first album I heard by them and still my personal favorite. So again, that's a take that you don't hear very much. Everyone's usually up on Close to the Edge, so it's really neat when the Yes album tends to be someone's favorite now and then.
Especially after 30 albums or something like that?
20 something if it's just studio, something like that.
Yeah. Joan Louise Parra says, got it vinyl. Cool.
Nice. And I actually remembered that I have a vinyl copy. I don't remember if my brother Alex gave it to me at some point, like he found it somewhere and gave it to me, or if someone else got for me. But I'll have to give that a spin at some point. Maybe I'll talk about it for the US release date anniversary next month.
Cool. You have a brother Alex?
Yes, you know this. Dave Dreyfus says favorite Yes song on it is Perpetual Change. So yeah, nice pick there.
David Mannion says, one very fine album indeed, a real door opener. I had a lot of fun picking out and learning to play to some of those keyboard parts back in the day. Cool.
Yeah, and Steve Gardner says, the first prog rock album I ever bought. It's very dear to me. It opened my ears to what was possible in music.
Nice. That's a big statement. David Emery says, spectacular. This album is where they found their sound and talents. The Yes Choir. I cite that again. There you go.
Right. And Gabriel R. Ceballos says, includes a ranking. So number 1, the Yes album, the best. Number 2, Close to the Edge. Number 3, Relayer. That's interesting. Like if I were if I were ranking those three albums, it would be like in the reverse order, but that's really
Yeah.
fascinating.
For me, it'd be Close to the Edge and Relay are so close for me. I think I'd still say Close to the Edge, Relay, or the Yes album. But yeah, that's interesting, Gabriel. Cool. And Greg Weishauer says, magical as John would say. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Craig. Bob Nason says probably a Dead Heat with Fragile. Both LPs have three great songs. Both have two all timers. In this order: Heart of the Sunrise, Your Move, Yours Is No Disgrace, Starship Trooper, Roundabout, South Side of the Sky. Woo, incredible. Then came Close to the Edge. Love, yes.
Yeah. This is one band that, funny enough, and I don't do this with a lot of bands at all, but I don't think I've ever listened to their discography from beginning to end in order in like one sitting. And I mean, maybe in 3 consecutive days or something, but I don't think I've done that. I think I want to do that now. That inspired me to do that. I've done it with Jethro Tull a few times. I've done it with Pink Floyd a few times. I did it with Haken in reverse order when I discovered them when Vector came out. I've done it with Rush. And that's probably about it. I think I should do it. Oh, Led Zeppelin, of course. I should probably do that. We all should do that. Let's all do that. All right. Nate Goulet says, great album after Close to the Edge. My second favorite Yes album. Wow. It's getting really high rankings. I'm a little surprised. I don't know why, but quite high rankings amongst a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm gonna read a couple comments in the chat that
Okay.
were within the last few minutes. So, Orlando Hernandez says, "Yes, music was it is a journey back in the day, more like a trip." Wubino said, "Time and a Word is the overlooked album. Too bad it didn't have Roger Dean artwork." Yeah, I mean, if they had Roger Dean artwork back for Time and a Word, then they would have avoided the weirdness of like ending up with a photo of the lineup that's not on the album. So, man.
Right.
And Wabino also says Yes would have been fine if Tony Kaye would have stayed as a member. Yeah, I feel like we kind of get an idea of what Tony could have done, listening to Badger, and for Peter Banks, we could listen to Flash for perhaps a guess at what they could have done if they had stayed.
I think I
Yeah,
agree. Yes,
it's an
would have been
interesting thought.
fine. Yeah, yes would have been fine, but we would never have gotten Fragile or Close to the Edge, or it would have been different, but they would have been fine for sure because we got those four masterpieces on that one album.
Yeah, the vibe I get from like the stuff I've read is that John and Chris had very much their idea of what they wanted Yes to be. And, when Peter was let go, Bill and Tony were kind of surprised. So, yeah, I feel like a couple of the members wanted it one way, a couple members wanted it a different way. So, but I also feel like that those different perspectives were what made the band so fascinating when they started, as they were trying to figure out, what is this band? So it makes for an interesting snapshot.
Yes, and Bill lasted two more albums that really, really cemented their path and their identity and their journey with Fragile and Close to the Edge.
Yeah. All right. So getting back to these other comments, Joe Fiscalari says it's a phenomenal album, but I always rank it around sixth favorite Yes album, mainly because Starship Trooper and All Good People are so played out. Also,
Thank
as good
you.
as Yours Is No Disgraces, the live version is so much better. Same with Perpetual Change. But don't get me wrong, it's still one of the greatest albums of all time. I generally put Close to the Edge, Relayer, Tales, Going for the One, and Tormato ahead of it.
Fair take. Fair take. Greg Clark says, I really like Adventure. Thank you. And probably Yes's most underrated song. Yeah. I like rediscovered it when I dove in to work up for the show. And as I said in the beginning of the show, it's way too short. It leaves you wanting so much more. And it's very Tolkien-esque. It takes you somewhere, literally.
Yeah. And Michael Rosati says, I love the tight sound. Howard Rhine says, very good, their third album. Um, Ian Barnett says, this is where they really found their feet and their sound. Album one of the main sequence, comparatively sparse and simple. A lot of people who say they don't like Yes like this one. Tony Kaye's beautifully understated playing is a contrast to what followed. I love Peter Banks's guitar, but Steve was/is the one. Bruford is terrific on this. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I found myself paying more attention to what Bruford does on these tracks when listening to the instrumental mixes. It's really good stuff.
That's cool because you're so used to Alan's version of things, right? Is that
Yeah,
one of
and
the reasons?
also I feel like the way the tracks are mixed, I feel like I kind of at certain points pay more attention to like some of the other instruments. So
Mm,
yeah, it's cool to be able to, listen to these different perspectives of the tracks that we get.
cool. John by Wiki says the first classic Yes album, followed by their other amazing albums up until Going for the One. The introduction of Steve Howe was the catalyst to some unforgettable album tracks. I have a copy signed by the great Bill Bruford, whose drumming here is exceptional, a masterpiece.
Nice. And Mike Molini says this is the first great Yes album. The first two albums were, quote, a band becoming, unquote.
Mm.
The Yes album is, quote, a band arrived, unquote.
Oh, I like that.
It began
That's great.
it began an incredible run of some of the greatest prog ever created. Yeah, that is interesting description there. I totally
That's a
see that.
great take. Yeah. Stephen Webster says it's a fantastic album with at least four classic Yes tracks on it, an album that set the standard for the next 4 or 5 albums. Absolute class. I agree.
Yeah. Wyatt Chuck says another one of my favorite Yes albums. They're all my favorite, but this one really hits home. Yeah. So I imagine like when ranking the albums, it's just probably all a horizontal line, right?
Right. The graph.
Yeah,
Fred,
but that's
oh,
cool.
yeah. Ferd Willigers says a very creative album, very musical. Ferd Willigers. But also, I want to say it here that the first Yes album is also very much loved by me. Cool.
Yeah. So uh kind of a side comment. I kind of feel envious of people who were fortunate enough to listen to the first two albums and then listen to the Yes album without having
Mm,
listened to the live versions beforehand, because I kind of would have liked to have, you
that
know,
context. Yeah.
to have known like what would my opinion of the Yes album be like if it wasn't so colored by like that out of order introduction that I kind of got with the material.
That
But
is curious. That definitely makes sense. Brian Nystrom says, I think the name says it all. It is the Yes album or the Yes album, I'll say.
yeah. And Chris Hosford says, out of every album in the Yes catalog, it is still the one I tend to play the most often, and it is
Oh,
often at the top when I try to rank my favorites. Yeah, so we're definitely
wow.
getting a lot of love for this album in terms of top
Yeah.
rankings.
Yeah. Jeff Burgess says Starship Trooper, Disillusion. The middle section was borrowed by Chris from Chris's vocal in For Everyone.
Oh yeah, that's on the Word is Live box set. Yeah, we listened to that a while ago, and
Yeah.
it has those lyrics. And Verm is from, I think, one of Steve Howe's previous bands, Bodast, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
yeah. Jeff Gordon says it's an amazing album. Bruce Henninger, or Henninger, whichever it is, says one of their top three and my personal favorite.
And Paul James Penittieri says, I was 18 when I first heard Yes, and this was my first album. With that, I've seen them many times in concert in between albums and CDs. I probably have a dozen. This rates high up with Close to the Edge. My first time seeing them was in 1972 with Rick Wakeman, who of which I saw last year in concert, and in less than 2 months, I'll be seeing John Anderson with the Band Geeks for the second time. Cool. John
Nice.
Anderson and the Band Geeks does not disappoint. They are amazing.
Right. Yeah, like they're incredible.
Yeah.
James Barrett says first CD I bought, so there's another gateway there.
Yeah.
Paul Belbin says absolutely classic. Tim W. Moylian or Moyling says great recording, especially your move and all good people.
All right. You're not my friend. Just kidding, Tim. Mike, is it French? Is it just Le or it's Lokes? Mike says, I absolutely love this album. To be fair, it is the first Yes album I was exposed to courtesy of my dad. So it had a lasting impression, but I still put this on every so often and I'm still enthralled from start to finish. Very cool. Some great stuff here. Great. Thanks for chiming in on the posts, everybody. We appreciate it very much. Yeah. And
For sure.
Live. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we've said, this album it's gotten a lot of live play and concert. Total Master Retain are even playing the album as well as Close to the Edge. I think they have like a show tomorrow, the 20th. So
cool.
It's music that has stuck with fans for a very long time. So
yeah.
And like we said, it saved Yes. Like this and 90125 kind of have that reputation, right, of like albums that saved Yes. So it has a neat place in the history in the catalog.
And both iterations have a new guitar player at the time.
Oh yeah. So if this is gonna sound bad, but like if Yes is ever in a tough spot, like add a new guitarist. But it's all in good fun. Yeah.
I'm curious. I really don't know what to expect from their next album. I know that both John Davison and Steve Howe have mentioned that they're looking to work on longer compositions again. We know that John Davison has had something in the works for a long time.
I think Davison and Downs have like a longer track that they've had for a while. So I do wonder if that might end up on this finally.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I just can't hear it in my head, so that makes me more curious.
Yeah.
What we got from them.
All right. So anything else before we sign off, Dad?
55 years just flies by really quickly. And for those who don't know, I'm in my 60s, so it's like, God, that was 55 years ago. It's just, when you look at all the albums and think of it that way, and how many of those albums could come out today and still feel and sound ahead of their time? I think most of them, actually,
Yeah, I do kind of think the Yes album, if it came out today the way that it sounded originally, I think you could tell that it's from back then, whereas stuff like the albums that came after might feel a bit more timeless, but that's just me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I get that. I would love to hear what that would have sounded like if it came out today with today's production styles and everything. I guess it would sound like the live stuff that we hear.
like if they had come up with the songs, like written them today but recorded them now with like modern stuff.
Yeah. So cool. Thanks for celebrating with us. Yeah. 55 years of the Yes album, their third album, and we have lots more fun stuff planned for the year. So follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Yesshift. And those of you watching on Drum Talk TV, thank you so much as well. And you can listen to the audio versions at anchor.fm/Yesshift. And I think you can even write us if you're into mailing letters. Or how does that work, Steve?
Yeah, so you get a pigeon, you tie the... No, I'm kidding. You can email us via yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com.
Cool. We'd love to hear from you folks, and go listen to some Yes album. There you go. Thanks everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.